What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. On this channel, everybody, I give you a six-figure MBA level worth of investing and financial knowledge for free here on YouTube. And the things that people typically spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn in grad school, I give to you for free here on Financipation. Before I get started, I also want to give a shout out to Kilica Solutions. They're one of my sponsors. If you need digital marketing, website development, or something to essentially edit your YouTube videos, they're the best in the business of meeting all of your digital needs. Additionally, everybody, I want you to also check out some of my e-products as well. Hit that notification bell too. Full disclosure, everybody, this is a finance channel. It's not a political channel, and we do not talk left versus right or Democrat versus Republican. But given the most recent U.S. elections, I've had a lot of people ask me essentially, Chris, what are tariffs and can you explain them? And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast, everybody. We're going to talk about tariffs and how they're going to go into effect essentially January 1st, 2025. And most importantly, how they're going to affect your wallet. With that, let's get started. Okay, let's get started. First off, how exactly do tariffs work and what are they? So the dictionary definition of a tariff, everybody, is an official duty or custom imposed by a government or a tax on imports or exports into or out of a country. In other words, everybody, a tariff is essentially a tax that is levied by one country on an imported good at the border from another country. And tariffs have historically been used as a tool for governments to essentially collect revenues. They are also a way for a government to protect domestic producers of a similar product. Sometimes, everybody, tariffs are political and they're essentially used to try to attempt to manage political relationships. And the $1,000,000 question I keep getting asked is, who pays the tariff? Is it the country that gets them imposed on them, the small business that imports them, or finally the consumer that actually buys a product? Well, over the last 200 years or so, the cost of a tariff are typically thrown directly back into the consumers and not onto the countries themselves. In other words, everybody, China is not paying the tariffs. You are. As a protectionist tool, the tariffs increase the prices of imports for the products that we normally buy. And as a result, tariffs typically cause the price of everyday items to increase, and that increase is paid once again by the consumer, which is you. In other words, everybody, is like this. If you slap a $1,000 tariff on a product that's imported from a country in Asia, Europe, or Africa, the countries in Asia, Europe, or Africa will simply charge $1,000 more for the exact same product. And they're going to throw that extra tax directly onto the small business that's then going to throw that actual $1,000 fee directly back onto the consumer that buys the product. So China, Norway, Malaysia, Germany, they don't pay the tariff. We, the American people, pay the tariff. And we do that every time we go to Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Best Buy, or any other company that buys these imported goods from Europe or from Asia. Next thing I want to discuss is why we purchase things, period, from other countries to begin with. So in the United States, everybody, over 90% of the products that we use on an everyday basis have parts that originated inside of or that have parts from other countries. If you don't believe me, I want you to take a look at the shirt that you're wearing right now and see where it's made. It's most likely Malaysia, Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, or somewhere in Asia. 100% of our cell phones, everybody, have parts that come from Africa, Europe, and China. And 70%, once again, 70% of the items that we purchase from Walmart, Home Depot, or Lowe's come from China or another country. In the past, everybody, tariffs were used as a protectionist tool to keep smaller countries economically poor. But in modern day times, everybody, this no longer works. Most Republicans, Democratic, and nonpartisan economists, everybody, agree that in general, tariffs for the most part are bad for the economy and extremely harmful to consumers because, once again, the prices and the taxes from tariffs get directly imported directly from the manufacturer from overseas, and they get thrown directly onto the end user, the consumer here in America. So for historical purposes, everybody, the idea of imposing massive tariffs on other countries has been tried in the past, and generally it did not turn out very well for the American people or for our economy. So a perfect example, I'm on Financipation. I'm a mechanical engineer. I have an MBA, and I love using facts to pretty much back up everything that I say. So in 1930, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was passed, and it was a protectionist tool that was essentially used by the United States Congress at that point to essentially drive down inflation and drive up the Americans purchasing items here in the United States of America. Well, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act is widely considered one of the things that made the Great Depression in the 1930s as bad as it was, It's also one of the things that's widely contributed to causing unemployment to be as high as 30% during the 1930s and the 1940s. So, in response to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, Europe and many other countries, including those in Asia, also slapped tariffs directly back onto the United States of America. And as a result, economists estimate that roughly 70%, 66% of the world's trade declined from 1929 to 1934. And the cost of tariffs, everybody, were also thrown once again directly back onto the American people in the form of higher inflation and higher costs. And as a result of the cost of everything went up exponentially. The cost of the tariffs were also thrown directly back onto the American people in the form of higher inflation, higher unemployment, and also higher prices for everything. And as a result, during the 1930s, once again, everybody, unemployment was over 30%. So, since the disastrous Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, most Democratic and Republican politicians have essentially shied away from passing tariffs. Now, let's talk about how tariffs actually work. So, tariffs in the past, everybody, were used to restrict imports by increasing the price of goods and services purchased from another country. There are essentially, everybody, two types of tariffs. First, a specific tariff is levied as a fixed fee based on the type of item, such as, let's say, $10,000 extra on a foreign car or a $10,000 tariff on a foreign car. The second type of tariff, everybody, is known as an ad valorem tariff, and it's levied based on the item's value, such as 10% on the vehicle of that exotic car. The reasoning, everybody, is simple. It's that if you make a foreign product more expensive, in theory, people will be less likely to purchase the exotic foreign product and will instead purchase the cheaper domestic made product here in the United States of America. In the past, governments would also use tariffs to exert economic leverage over smaller, weaker countries. I say in the past, everybody, because this literally goes against basic Keynesian economics, and it has not been the case over the last 200 to 350 years. So, for example, let me introduce you to something called the competitive advantage. One of the arguments, everybody, that I constantly hear from people who say that they are in favor of tariffs is that if goods are more expensive to purchase abroad, that means Americans will be forced, essentially, to build more things here in the United States of America, and it's going to stimulate the manufacturing and stimulate the economy. And the people who say that kind of thing, in my opinion, don't truly understand economics, because as a guy who has his MBA in finance and who's taught it for decades, that argument never made sense for one very simple concept that I'm going to call the competitive advantage. So for comparison's sake, everybody, think of it like this. Does it make more sense to put solar panel cells on a factory in California and Arizona or in Alaska? I'll let you decide. Obviously, everybody, it makes more sense to put solar panel cells on that factory roof in Arizona or California and not Alaska, because you get a lot more sunshine year round in Arizona or California. In the same respect, everybody, those particular states have a competitive advantage when it comes to solar arrays. It's the same concept, everybody, about making products in Malaysia, Asia, Africa, or India, where the regulations are much cheaper than here in America. And you can pay a guy essentially $5 a day to build a car instead of having to pay them $15 an hour plus healthcare benefits and vision benefits here in the United States. So once again, it literally makes no sense, everybody, to ship your factory to Massachusetts or Alabama, where once again, the regulations here in the United States are much higher. You can keep that factory in Malaysia or India or China, pay a guy $5 a day and not have to worry about medical benefits. And it's even better if America is foolish enough to decide to slap a $10,000 tariff on the foreign cars that you're putting into in the United States, for one very simple reason. That factory in China, that factory in Malaysia, that factory in Thailand, that factory in Europe will simply slap that $10,000 directly back onto the end user, sell it to America, and essentially force you, the consumer, to pay for it. The competitive advantage, everybody, is to keep paying your workers $5 a day in a foreign country, in Asia, in Africa, in India, in Mexico. And then if you do get hit with the tariff, just simply slap that tariff directly back onto the end user. So that $30,000 car people were paying in 2024, it's going to be $40,000 next year. Why? Because you put a $10,000 tariff on it. And it doesn't affect the business owner. It doesn't affect the country, but it does, however, affect you, the end consumer. Once again, everybody, 70% of the materials that Walmart sells to us come from China. So what that means is that when tariffs actually hit, Walmart is simply going to take whatever tariff that China gets hit with, slap it onto the product themselves, and guess what, everybody? Expect those blue jeans, cheese, and eggs and everything, and the milk cartons to go up sky high next year. Before I go any further, everybody, please hit the notification bell so you know when I drop new content. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. I was an algorithm, and I thoroughly enjoy giving you an MBA level with investing and financial knowledge here for free on YouTube. Now, let's talk about the consequences of tariffs. I've kind of briefly talked about them a little bit earlier, but I also want to talk about them a little bit greater detail. As I pointed out, everybody, the competitive advantage principle means that tariffs can have drastic and unintended consequences for the end user and for the consumer. So even if they are successful and they force foreign companies from shipping their products to America, they can also make domestic industries vastly less efficient and innovative. And this is what I mean by that. If you are a small business owner, everybody, and you know that people can't buy a product from your competitors and they can only buy that product from you, that essentially has made you a monopoly. And if you are a monopoly, what incentive do you have to make your product cheaper, better, and more efficient? Secondly, studies have also shown that a lack of competition means people typically charge more, not less, for the exact same goods or services as they're not competing once again with a free market or with competitors. At the end of the day, if I know I'm the only game in town, why would I need to lower my prices? It's as simple as that. Lastly, an attempt to pressure a rival superpower or a country by using tariffs will eventually devolve into an unproductive trade war or a cycle of retribution that typically leads to higher inflation and cost for goods to the people of the country that buy those goods. And additionally, it can also lead to higher unemployment. This is essentially, everybody, exactly once again what happened during the Smoot-Hawley Act of the 1930s. And it's what also happened to the America First Tariff Act that was passed under the Trump administration during the years of 2017 and 2018. So if you are starting to get the idea, everybody, that tariffs are not good for you as an American consumer, and that they drive up inflation and they also drive up the cost of everyday items, and they also have the potential to drive up unemployment, then guess what? You are correct. Now, I want to talk about who is the most affected by tariffs. Tariffs, everybody, can come in many forms. And generally speaking, they are bad for you as a consumer. Firstly, tariffs typically have a regressive impact and they historically disproportionately raise inflation, and they negatively affect lower income households and consumers the most. For example, if a person makes, let's say, $100,000 a year, right? And a carton of eggs goes from $5 in 2024 to $20 in 2025, they're going to be upset. But if you make $100,000 a year, it's not necessarily life-changing. However, if a person makes $30,000 a year and that carton of eggs goes from $5 in 2024 to $20 in 2025, well, people are going to be out in the streets, everybody, with weapons and torches protesting and rioting. Secondly, many small businesses, particularly those that rely on imported goods from other countries, face significant challenges because when they pay the tariffs to import the goods, they in turn throw those extra costs directly once again back onto the consumer that buys them in the end. So as I stated multiple times in this podcast, China, everybody, is not paying that tariff. You are. For example, let's say you have a business selling, $1,000 cell phones, right? From Asia. You buy them from China, you import them, you sell them to people in America. Now, let's say the country that you live in hates Asia for some strange reason, and your prime minister or your president once again slaps a fat $1,000 tariff on goods that are purchased directly from China. As a result, that cell phone that you used to buy for $1,000 now costs $2,000. And as a result, you as a small business owner have to sell your cell phone instead of for $1,000 to $2,000. So you jack the price up. And the people, your friends, your family members, your customers, your loyal customer base, instead of them spending $1,000 for that cell phone, now they have to spend $2,000 for the cell phone. Now, let's say you are all American. You decide to stop buying cell phones from China because that foreign country, essentially, you don't like how they're hiking the prices. And you instead decide to build 100% of your product and your cell phones here in the United States of America. And you want to sell that cell phone to your family members and to your clients. Where everybody here lies a problem. 90% of most cell phones that we use today, they come from rare earth minerals that are only found in Africa or China. So as a result, it is practically impossible to make a 100% American-made iPhone from minerals and products made in America and sell it for less than what it costs to make it in China. Also, when a company or a country or a small business is slapped with a tariff, they essentially have three options, and none of them are good for you as a consumer. Firstly, they can increase prices and simply charge you more for the exact same product, the same car, the same carton of eggs, the same milk carton that you used to pay for it. Secondly, they can simply decide to move their factories to another country altogether, like Malaysia, Mexico, Africa, and pay someone essentially $5 a day instead of $15 an hour like they have to do here in the United States. And as a mechanical engineer who has an MBA and has taught finance and wealth creation for over 2 decades, I can say with certainty that in a capitalistic society, everybody, if a company like Walmart, Ford, or Nike have the option of paying an American worker $15 an hour plus healthcare and benefits, or $5 a day to a man or woman to make the exact same pair of blue jeans in Mexico or Malaysia, 100% of the time, Walmart or Nike will decide to maximize their profits and move that factory to Malaysia or China so they can instead make those blue jeans. And before you get too mad about Walmart doing that, think of it like this, everybody. Would you rather pay $15 for a pair of blue jeans, or would you rather pay $75 for the exact same pair of blue jeans at Walmart? I'll let you decide. At the end of the day, everybody, globalization benefits everybody. And if you don't believe me, look no further than what Walmart CEO John David Rainey and Lowe's CEO Marvin Ellison have recently said shortly after the 2024 election results, where both men stated verbatim that if President-elect Donald Trump's tariffs are approved by Congress, then Walmart will be forced to raise the prices on almost all of their goods in order to pay for the 20 to 60% tariffs that Trump is going to slap onto China. And Marvin Ellison with Lowe's said the exact same thing. In other words, everybody, come January 20th, 2025, if these tariffs do go into effect, expect the cost of power tools, expect the cost of construction materials, expect the cost of blue jeans, food, milk, fruit, all of it to go up. As I stated earlier multiple times already, China is simply going to throw that 20 to 60% tax back onto the American businesses like Walmart and Lowe's, and Walmart and Lowe's will simply throw that tariff back onto you, the consumer, and into your pocketbook by charging 20 to 60% more for the exact same pair of blue jeans, the exact same carton of eggs, the exact same types of materials that you buy from Lowe's and from Walmart. Once again, everybody, China ain't paying the tariff. You are. We, the American people, are. And both CEOs from Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot have both stated flatly that these tariffs are essentially taxes that will cause inflation to increase. And then also these are costs that are going to be thrown directly back onto the consumer. So as a mechanical engineer with an MBA that teaches finance, I like to give real world examples of everything that I talk about on my channel. Now I want to talk about the real world effects of tariffs. In 2018, President Trump had an American First policy that revolved around American protectionism, which was a code word for tariffs. The first tariffs imposed by then President Trump were on solar panels and washing machines, as the then president claimed importing washing machines in 2018 and solar cells were dangerous to domestic manufacturers. This affected about 1 million washing machines, and they were taxed and cost an extra 20% to 50% from the years of 2018 to 2020. Trump also slapped a 25% tax on all imported steel. Well, many other countries, however, that Trump imposed these taxes and tariffs on were not happy because they were trading partners and direct trading partners with the United States and with the EU, the European Union, and they were not happy at all about what Trump was doing. As a result, these countries in turn slapped hundreds of tariffs on U.S. goods, and that ranged from Harley-Davidson motorcycles to bourbon and liquor. Reuters conducted a study, and 80% of the 60 economists that Reuters interviewed flatly stated that Trump's trade war in 2018-2020 with his tariffs harmed the U.S. economy and it drove up inflation. And all economists unanimously agreed that Trump's tariffs were a tax that caused things to get more expensive for the American consumer, not less, from 2016 to 2020. And once again, if history is our guide, the exact same thing happened nearly 100 years ago with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. Lastly, of the 60 economists that Reuters interviewed that studied Trump's America First policy from 2007 to 2020, not a single Democratic, Republican, or independent economist stated that Trump's tariffs from that time period benefited the U.S. economy, made the cost of goods cheaper, or helped the American consumer. In closing, everyone, this once again is a finance channel. It's not a political channel. I don't talk left versus right, Democrat versus Republican on my channel. This is a finance channel. But according to just about every economist, both Republican and Democratic, they all correctly believe that tariffs are nothing more than a national sales tax that gets thrown directly back onto the consumer. Tariffs are bad, everybody, for the U.S. taxpayer because they cause prices of our goods to increase. They cause inflation to eventually go up, and they cause unemployment to go up as well. And they make everyday products that we pay for get significantly more expensive. It should also be noted that tariffs historically do very little to positively benefit U.S. manufacturing because once again, the competitive advantage of cheaper wages overseas makes it significantly cheaper to keep your factories in Asia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Africa, or India. And it makes it significantly harder to put your factories here in the United States. So you have to, once again, pay for healthcare, stronger regulations, and you have to pay people $15 an hour. People, the proof is in the pudding. 70% of the materials that Walmart sells nationwide come from China. 97% of the clothes that we wear come from Malaysia, Vietnam, or some part of Asia. And 100% of our cell phones, everybody, have materials and parts that come from Africa or China. All of these, everybody, are imported goods that are made in other countries. And if you slap a 20% tariff/sales tax on these imported goods, expect the cost of all these goods to go up once again by 20 to 40%. In closing, everybody's channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. You can book a one-on-one session with me at any point. The link is below. I'm not giving you financial advice on this channel, everybody. You must make your own independent, responsible decisions based on the thorough research that you do for yourself. Check out my website, everybody, www.therealfinancipation.com. Check out my Instagram, @thereal_Financipation. Check out my Spotify Financipation. Check out my TikTok Financipation. Check out my Facebook page, Financipation. Also, check out my financial blog as well, Financipation. And check out some of my digital, my e-products below as well. Please like, please comment, please share, please subscribe. Please hit the notification button so you know when I drop new content. And thanks, Silicon Solutions, for all these dope graphics. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to the Midas Touch for this following video right here. Take care, everybody. It's your boy, Chris. I'm out. Peace.
I'm voting for the man that's going to take America back, baby. Donald J. Trump, man.
What's one of your biggest issues?
Probably going to be inflation, because I sell T-shirts and all that stuff.
Your T-shirts are made in the USA?
No, my blanks, no. See, that's the thing Trump's talking about. If we tax them, hit tariffs, the same item they're making over there will cost the same to make over here.
We pay the tariffs.
Well, the companies pay the tariffs, not us.
China doesn't pay the tariffs. We do when they come in.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Like if I'm buying 1,000 shirts from China and there's a tariff on it, I'm paying the tariff.
Well, no, whoever's getting it imported in is going to pay the tariffs.
Yeah. I'm the business owner. I'm paying the tariff. China doesn't pay it. I pay for it.
Well,
like if I'm the business owner and I buy 1,000 shirts,
I see what you're saying.
China's not jolly. So I'm trying to explain.
Who pays the tariff?
They're paying the tariff.
Do you think that? Do you believe that?
Because I was trying to say, because I sell merch as well.
I sell you something for $10, right? You're going to sell it to him for $20.
Exactly.
But then I make you pay me $15 for it. Are you still going to sell it to him for $20?
Am I going to sell it to him for $20?
If I raise the price $5.
Oh, it's going to have to go up.
Right.
So yeah, the consumer foots the bill.
Have a good day.